Republican Party. There's several things I want to talk to you about, but one of them is about the Fed. Do you believe the Fed should be audited?
Yes.
Yes?
It's not going to be an issue that I'm going to take the leadership on.
Okay.
I worked on the Fed in the 90s. I don't think they're going to find anything. I would not block auditing the Fed, but it's not an issue that I'm excited about.
You're not a fan of Ben Bernanke's?
No, I'm not a fan of Ben Bernanke's. I had high hopes for Ben Bernanke when he first got the job. I talked to some friends that I still have in the Federal Reserve System, and they had high hopes also.
I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to spend an hour with you sometime just talking about the Fed, because I think the Fed should be ended myself. But the inflation, well, here's one of the reasons why the Fed should be ended. Now you have Elizabeth Warren, who is now part of the Fed in the Treasury Department. Treasury and the Fed have just become like this. They're really controlling everything, are they not?
And that's the problem. The Fed and the Treasury have become like this. It's called politicization of the Federal Reserve. Here's the source of the inflation: $14 trillion in debt. And when the Treasury cannot sell those notes, the Federal Reserve is buying some of them in order to help to pay the bills. It becomes a vicious cycle. Now, back in the mid-90s, when Alan Greenspan was head of the Fed and I was on the board of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, we didn't have that problem. Alan Greenspan never would have thought about trying to prop up the Treasury because the debt was so bad. That is the source.
I heard him this week actually say, I'm surprised that they're doing this. This is a historic opportunity to reduce the debt. And they're just, yes,
exactly. And so people sometimes, Glenn, want to say, because I was on the board of the Federal Reserve back in the 90s, that they want to hold that against me as
You're
a candidate.
part of the cabal.
I'm part of the cabal. No, I'm not. Go back and look at what we did back then. We did our job back then. We didn't make these sort of mixed decisions that's adding to the problem.
China selling 97% of all of their short-term debt. Is that a problem for us?
That is a problem for us, because China is starting to worry that we are not going to make it.
Are we?
If we don't change the leadership in the White House and change control of Congress, there is a chance that we may not make it.
Can I tell you something? That doesn't mean much to me. If we don't change, we get changed. It seems like we play musical chairs. They say one thing when they're out, and then they do the exact opposite. Does it really make a difference?
It can make a difference, Glenn.
How do we know? How do we know who to vote for?
You won't know for sure. You're going to have to look at someone different. You're going to have to look. It all ultimately comes down to, every time, who do you think you can trust? That's what it comes down to. You will never be 100% sure. President Obama convinced a lot of people that he had America's best interest at heart. And if you look at the actions and the decisions that he has made, I am not convinced that he's had America's best interest at heart. And it hurts me to say that, because of my respect for the office of the president.
Do you hate him because he's black? Is that what it is?
Is he black? Gee, I'm glad you told me that.
Back in just a minute.